Good afternoon, everyone. It's another steamy day here in North Texas, and unfortunately another weekend without camping. Although I want to start this video by saying I will be down at Lake Whitney at the state park next weekend, just to get away for a little while. If you guys happen to find yourself there and you want to stop by and say hey, I'll be there from Friday until Sunday, just kind of enjoying the lake. That's assuming the place isn't burnt down by the time I get there. We've had quite a bit of grass fires in the area lately. And a few of the state parks have actually been shut down, so it's becoming quite problematic for people that want to go out and go camping and stuff. Anyway, as you can tell by my yard, it's been really dry here and really hot. And you can tell that I've actually got a little bit of a Grand Canyon forming. And this has to do with the black dirt we have up here in North Texas. It's all clay, and as a result of that, it creates cracks when it dries out. So awesome. Anyway, what I wanted to do today is actually do a Q&A video. I've done about a dozen videos now on this trailer, you know, throughout its evolution, right? From the first day I got it, from the first day I used it, and just based on my experiences. And so I've had a lot of questions throughout those videos from different subscribers, you know, asking certain things about the trailer. And the challenge is that because all of these answers are spread out over a dozen videos, I often get asked the same question multiple times. So I want to try to put a video together to address all the Q&A I've had so far. Even though I have addressed these in the comments each time they're asked, I just want to go ahead and put a video together for those of you that, you know, don't go through the full series and have questions or have curiosity. So let's just go ahead and jump right in and get started. I've got quite a bit here, and I'll start from reverse. I'll start from the oldest question first. So, you know, oftentimes people ask me, how much did this thing cost me? Like, what did it set me back to build this trailer out the way I wanted it to? And I've always been a little bit shy about answering that question because, you know, it depends on your needs as to how much this thing's going to cost you. But I will say, as of this year, these things default at $31,000 US, just for the base trailer. That basically means you're getting the trailer, you're not getting a rooftop tent, you're not getting a shower enclosure, you're not getting the awning. You know, you get the standard fridge that comes with it, which is nice. Pretty much everything else you get as standard. The max fan included and all that good stuff. When you dress it up and you add things, obviously that increases the cost. And now I bought mine, I actually ordered mine last October. So October of 2021 is when I ordered it. And at that time, all in, I think it was, this includes shipping. Remember, they got to deliver this thing from Canada to wherever you're at. So to get from Canada to Texas, all in, it was just under 40 grand. So I think it was somewhere around 38, 39, something like that, which sounds like a lot, and it is a lot when you think about it, but compare that to the cost of most of the trailers that you see out there. It's either cheaper or right in line with what everybody else is charging. A lot of people are charging 40 grand just for the base units. And, you know, of course, that doesn't include shipping and any of the customizations that you want to do. So think about that for a second, right? 40 grand sounds like a lot, but you're getting a lot. I mean, this trailer is going to outlive me. So I finally just want to admit that's how much it set me back. And it has gone up. When I bought mine, it was default at 29. So it's now 31, and it'll only continue to go up because of inflation and everything else. So just expect, if you wait, if you sit on this, on your decision, it's only going to get more expensive the longer you wait. So I encourage you, if you're ready to go and you're like, hey, I just can't really quite pull the trigger, do it, right? You won't regret it, trust me. All right, you know, I've had a few people like, what, I can't believe the trailer didn't come with that. Oh my gosh, you spent all this money for a trailer that didn't have it. And one of them is the max coupler hitch. You know, people are like, well, one person was like, I can't believe your trailer didn't come with the max coupler. Well, you're right, okay, it is an option. They do have a standard tow hitch that it comes with, and the max coupler is an add-on. But it's not that much more, and it's an option. I would rather have the option to choose between the two depending on my needs than to be forced to have a max coupler hitch and be like, ugh, it's annoying because I have to have a special hitch for my 4Runner. So, you know, it all comes down to buy once, cry once. And for me, I decided to upgrade and get the max coupler hitch and the additional jack. That's an option too. I was all set about just getting the standard one, but I talked to some people like, nah, it's really worth the upgrade. So again, at the end of the day, you have to decide what's going to work for you and your budget. But I also go back to that old adage, right? Buy once, cry once. Get what you want out of the gate so that you're not regretting your decision later on. I have had questions about the Zero Breeze AC unit. This thing is AC prepped. I do have a Zero Breeze. I actually had the Zero Breeze prior to the trailer. I was using it for tent camping. And somebody was, you know, I've been asked, you know, what's the experience been like? You know, does it actually cool things down the way it's supposed to and all that? Now, this all comes down to how you plan to use the Zero Breeze. Most of us are not going to use it in the middle of the day, right? We're going to use it when we want to sleep, and that's how I use it. So when I'm ready to retire and I want to go to sleep, I want it to be nice and cool in the cabin, and I don't want to have to worry about the Zero Breeze struggling any. So the way I use it at night, it works perfectly. So basically what I've learned to do is when I'm camping, I typically go to bed late. So it's already after sundown. You know, the air temperature's already kind of cooled down. Even if it's 108 degrees outside, it's still cooled down a little bit. And so I'll turn on the max fan to kind of ventilate the cabin to get any heat that's in it out of it prior to going to bed. And then when I'm ready to go to bed, I turn on the Zero Breeze. Now I'll typically run it on full blast for maybe 20 minutes just to get that initial cool down in the cabin, and then I flip it over to sleep mode, which basically runs about 50% power usage. On a standard lithium battery that you get with the Zero Breeze, that'll run you about 6 hours, and depending on when you go to bed, might be perfect because by that time you're getting up. You can get a second battery, in which case it'll run for 12 hours if you want to piggyback both of them. I have 2 batteries. I use one for basically one night and then another for the other night. So I have enough battery to go 2 nights with AC, which my trips are typically 3 days, 2 nights anyway, so that's perfect for me. If I'm at an area where I've got shore power, I can plug the Zero Breeze directly into the plug, which I have to have the inverter on, and then I can run it all night without worrying about batteries. So I find it's useful. I find it does its job. It cools the cabin down to a reasonable temperature, and I sleep comfortably. So if you're on the fence about getting the AC prep and a Zero Breeze, go ahead and do it, especially if you live in a hot climate. You won't regret it, right? Having that cool down is awesome. I've had people tell me that they're in the area, that they do live here in North Texas, and some people say, hey, I'd really like to see your trailer. You know, as much as I'd like to do that, I am not part of the ambassador program for Off-Grid. They do have a program where if you sign up, you become eligible to show people the trailer, and you get a little bit of a kickback if they decide to buy it, you know, just based on the fact that you've got activity. There are other people that in the North Texas region that are part of the ambassador program. That's how I got to see one of these, but I am personally not part of the ambassador program. So if you're wanting to look at one of these and you're in the North Texas area, I encourage you to go to Off-Grid's website. You can actually schedule an appointment to see one of these, and they will put you in touch with the right people that are in the ambassador program. And they are some of the nicest people out there. They are transparent about the trailer. They'll tell you everything you want to know. They're not going to hide anything from you, and it's a really good way to see these things. There is a rental company in the area that will rent these out. When I looked into it before I bought this trailer, they were pretty much booked up, and people want to play with these things all the time, so I really couldn't get a hold of one. But you know, being able to see one in person is a good thing, right? You want to see it before you buy it. When it comes to the 7-pin trickle charge, you know, I had somebody ask, why wouldn't they do that at the factory? And for those of you that don't know, I have a video on how to take the trickle charge line that's disconnected from the battery by default. So basically you have to get into the battery system and hook a wire up to it. And what that does for you is when you've got the 7-pin connector to your vehicle, you're sending power directly to the batteries, so it's bypassing the charge controller. So it allows you to trickle charge your batteries while you're on the road, so you don't have to worry about showing up to campsite with a half battery because you've been running the fridge the whole time. It's not done that way by default. And there's a very specific reason. You know, because you're messing with the electrical and you are bypassing the charge controller, there's some liability that Off-Grid doesn't want to be responsible for, and I don't blame them, right? But they do have instructions on how to do it. My video shows you how to do it. It's a very simple process. You just literally take one wire, hook it up to I think it's the brown or the black terminal, and then you're good to go. And at that point you'll have trickle charge when you're on the road. So if you haven't seen that video and you're interested, go back. It's literally a 2 to 3 minute video. It'll tell you how to do that, and I'll actually show you how it's done. I can tell this is from an Aussie, but somebody said, do you ever go bush, or you just you know, just talk about going off-road with these things? You know, living here in the States, especially in Texas, going off-road is a unique experience. It's not something that happens all the time. You know, there's places you can do that, like Big Bend. There's certain parks that you can go off-road. I have taken this to private campsites that have a pretty rugged trail to get to the primitive site. So I have exercised this thing in an off-road capacity. I also have my ranch that I take it out on, which is purely primitive. So I boondock a lot out there, which, you know, it's not rough terrain. It's not like I'm going to articulate this thing to 45 degrees or that nonsense. But it does get the job done. It does show you, can this thing go where your vehicle can go? And the answer is yes, it can. So we are a little different here in the U.S. We've got paved roads for most of the part. If you want to go off-road and go overlanding, it's actually something you have to seek out, because it's not a normal experience for us. I do plan this year to do a couple of things. So I'm taking this to Lake Whitney next week. I'm going to head down to Padre Island probably the following week. I'm doing the Texas Avid Outdoors Expo in Llano later this year. So I'll be taking these things to places where, yeah, it's classified as off-road. So hopefully that answers your question. It's not just all talk. Somebody asked about the dissolving packs for the toilet that I have, the little Thetford porta potty, and I just want to show those. You can get these on Amazon. It's not too expensive. I got the 30 pack, so this is what I use. You basically just toss one of these things into the bottom tank of your porta potty, fill it up with a little bit of water to get it started, and then that, you know, there wasn't much of a smell anyway, but this at least liquefies all the poo that winds up in the bottom, so that by the time you dump your tanks, or you dump your tank, it's all liquid. You don't have to worry about any solids. So if you're curious, that's what I have. Again, you can get it off Amazon. I think you can get these at Walmart. You know, they're standard RV type digestibles. So hopefully that helps. All right, next question. Let's see. You know, somebody talked about this in an earlier video, but approximately how much more did you spend on buying Canadian versus buying US? And do I think it's worth it? As I mentioned earlier, from a pricing perspective, I think it's worth it. I think that buying from Canada, you know, they have a different design standard. They're designing it for Canadian adventure, right? Which is typically silly cold in the winters, you know, pretty reasonable in the summers. They built this thing well insulated. It's all metal, right? It's aluminum top, metal steel frame, so that you don't have to worry about any kind of wood or anything that's going to rot over time. And I just felt like it was a much better built unit than the majority of what I was seeing here in the States. And price-wise, even though I was buying through Canada, it was still cheaper. So yeah, I think it's worth it. I've again not had any bad experiences with this that have caused me to regret my decision. And then the customer service. This is another thing that was real big for me, and I keep harping on this, but my experience with working with US manufacturers was a little bit more difficult. They're tired of the tire kickers, people like us that go out and research the crap out of these things before we buy, and so they're real short. Either they wouldn't give you a detailed answer, or they wouldn't respond fast because they get it all the time. And it's like, ugh, I don't want to deal with people that aren't going to buy. Off-grid, on the other hand, they enjoy answering your questions. They enjoy being part of the process and educating you as much as possible, so that when you do buy, you're making a worthwhile investment that's well researched. So they have that going for them, which is another reason why I went with Off-grid. I was asked if this has an e-brake when it's disconnected or parked. It does not come with an e-brake, which is typically something you would see on the hitch. You'll see this on some of the other types of trailers where when you hit it, it locks the brakes up so that you don't have to worry about it rolling on you when you wind up at camp. I asked about that when I bought this, and the logical answer is they have seen people damage those e-brakes on the trails, and it locks up the brakes, and then you're screwed. So in their mind, you know, it's just simpler to get chocks, which does the same thing as an e-brake, you know, for what you're going to use it for, and it's more portable, right? You can define how you want to do that, and you don't have to worry about the risk of it breaking in the field and locking your brakes up. So hopefully that answers your question. You know, I had somebody disagree with me about parking this thing in the shade, especially when you have a 270 awning, and there's some logic to that. It's like, why would you? Well, the awning doesn't cover the top of the trailer. It's a 270 awning, so it literally comes out and goes around, but the top is still exposed, and it'll heat up the trailer. So here in Texas, we try to find shade as much as possible, and although the awning does a good job of giving you shade when you're outside of the trailer, it doesn't do much for shading the trailer itself. So I try to find a spot to park it in the shade, even though I'm deploying my 270 awning. And then the solar system is got literally a 9-foot cable off of it, so I can move the solar panel out from the shade, point it in the sun, and not worry about, you know, having to have something on board from a solar perspective. So that's kind of the reason why I talk about shade. And if you have an onboard solar, which some trailers do, they've got a solar panel that's attached to the trailer, it becomes a little bit less useful when you're always parking in the shade. So that was my reasoning behind that question, or that answer. Some people ask, what's the weight of the trailer? You know, what type of vehicle do I use to tow the trailer? So empty weight, this is 1750, so 1750 pounds for the metric people. You'll have to convert that. But it's, I mean, when you think about it, 1750 is light. It's a very light trailer for the type that you're getting. Now, when you load it up, it has, I think, a 3,300 pound max weight. So when you put water in it, you're adding another, what, 300 pounds to it if you add more gear to it. So max curb weight is, I think, 3,300 pounds, which, when you think about it, is still within the scope of what a 4Runner can tow. 4Runners, at least mine, the 2016, can tow 4,600 pounds. So this is right in that sweet spot that if I've got an empty trailer, not a big deal. Even when it's loaded up, not a big deal, right? It's still within the threshold of possibility. So all of the specs about this trailer are on Off-Grid's website. You can go and they've got their little data sheet that tells you the height, the weight, all that good stuff. So I encourage you to go check out their website if you need more information on that. The spice rack. This is something else. Weirdly enough, people were really interested in this, and I got asked this a couple of times, so I went ahead and got it out so you guys can see it. But yeah, I just picked this up on Amazon, and it's suction cups. It's not magnetic. And so when I get to camp, basically what I'm doing is I clean off the side of the trailer and I attach this next to the kitchen area. It makes things a lot easier. I typically use this top rack for like keys and stuff so I don't lose them, and then it's got a paper towel rack holder on the bottom. So it's a little gimmicky, but you know, it works. It does what I need it to do, because it's a pain in the ass to have paper towels that aren't readily accessible when you're trying to do stuff on the kitchen, you know, the stove and everything. So yeah, I'll put a link to this in the description of where you can get this on Amazon, but again, it's just a little spice rack holder. So and it's suction cup based. All right, keep on rolling here. Let's see. How far can you jackknife the trailer when it's attached to the 4Runner? That's a great question. Now, I typically, when I'm done camping, I had this gate put in this year so that I can drive the trailer back and have it stored in my backyard instead of in the front. And I have jackknifed this thing before because it's pretty tight to get it in the alley, almost a 90-degree angle before I had any issues with it. So I don't know how much more you would need. I think the question was from the vantage point of, if you're at a campsite and you want to do like an L, can you do that with this? Yeah, you can. I was able to, like I said, I jackknifed it once with the 4Runner, and you know when it happens, because you can definitely feel something different about it. But yeah, so hopefully that answers your question on that one. Again, somebody asked about the AC, so just a repetitive question. You know, they just bought one of these trailers, they're curious if the AC works. I've explained that already, but yeah, it works well depending on how you use it. If you use it at night, it's going to work great. Try to use it during the day. It probably, if your cabin temperature is, you know, in the 90s, it'll probably bring it down to the 80s, but that's still not comfortable enough to stay in during the day. So it is what it is. But again, I use it for night sleeping purposes. I don't use it for the day, and so your mileage may vary in that sense. How long did it say to take to get the trailer once I ordered it? So when I ordered this thing in October of last year, I received it in April of 2022, which means that I ordered what amounted to a 2021 model, but I received a 2022 model. And there wasn't much change in the differences between the two, other than the AC prep was something that they did new. But it is 6-month wait on these trailers. So if you buy one right now, you will not get it before the end of the year. You'll probably get it in January at some point next year. So again, if you're on the fence about ordering these things, you might want to go ahead and put in your order now. Now, you do have an opportunity to back out. So when you put your order in, you put in kind of a commitment dollar figure, but that happens later. So you put in your order. As they get closer to the actual build time frame for your trailer, that's when you have to put in your money, a deposit at least, to commit to it, right? So if during that time period you get cold feet or you want to back out, you can. They know that some people have things that change. So just be aware that that's something that that you can do if you need to. Overall, am I still happy with my purchase? Yes, definitely so. Even though I have pointed out some flaws, I'm one of those transparent people, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm not paid by Off-Grid Trailers. I don't monetize my videos. I tell it like it is. And I'm not the smartest guy on the planet when it comes to, you know, this rugged off-road manly crap that people like to talk about. I'm not a gearhead. I'm not one of those guys that's mechanically inclined. So I'm learning a lot about this trailer. And I know I go on and on sometimes about the mechanics behind this thing, but that's because there are people like me that are not mechanically inclined. And so you're going to want to know little things, tips and tricks, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. Right? I'm all about honesty, and I'm all about, hey, this is what my experiences have been, and your experience may be different. But I am very happy, and I'm still very pleased with my purchase. Has it been perfect? No. You know, there's always been little hiccups here and there, but nothing that was insurmountable, and nothing that has caused me to regret this purchase. The way I justify it is, if you've ever camped on the beach near an ocean in a tent in the summer in Texas, you know how much that sucks. Okay, I'm talking to you people. You know what I'm talking about. Everything bad happens on the beach at 4:30 in the morning. The breeze dies down, the bugs come out, it rains, it becomes miserable for about 3 hours until things get back to normal. All it takes is one trip like that in a trailer like this, where you can sleep inside and not on the ground in a tent, to remind yourself why you bought one of these things. So I am extremely pleased to have this. Again, it's a constant reminder of why I bought it. I bought it for very specific reasons, and I've not looked back. I've been very happy with it. People have asked me if I ever consider getting a Pando, and you know, when I was looking at the the off-grid systems, they make 3 different trailers. They make the Switchback, which is kind of like a Patriot. They make the Expedition 2, which is what you see here, and then they make the Pando, which is a little bit bigger. There's some significant differences between the 3, but between the Expedition and the Pando has the galley in the back. It is bigger. It's got a couple of fridges, so you get a little beer fridge in the galley, and then you can opt for, I think you can opt for another fridge, either Dometic or Truma. The reason why I didn't go with the Pando is because of the weight. You know, I wanted something that was in the sweet spot of the 4Runner, and we all know 4Runners are kind of crappy with towing to begin with, and I didn't want to add additional labor to the engine, knowing I was already going to have problems. So I went with the off-grid, the Expedition 2.0, because it met all my needs. It had a good layout. I'm okay with the way it's designed, and it's a lightweight trailer that I know my 4Runner can tow effectively. So that was really the main reason why I didn't go with the Pando. The other reason is I don't think the Pando has the same water capacity. I have to go back and look. But when I look between the Expedition and the Pando, the Expedition I do believe has more onboard water out of the gate. Now you can opt for an additional tank on the Pando, which gets it above what the Expedition 2.0, but that's an option. Like, I'd rather just have it built in, right? 31 gallons, and then I've got the little 11-gallon water tank from FrontRunner that I can use to bring it up to 42 gallons if I need to. So that's really the reason why I didn't get the Pando, was the weight, and I do believe the water capacity. And then finally, can you leave it plugged in? Can you hook it up to shore power and then operate everything? And yes you can. In fact, I asked that same question when I got this thing. I'm like, I want to make sure I can bypass the battery and use the shore power when I'm at a facility that's got shore power. So for example, at Lake Whitney, I'll have an electrical pad. So it'll be the first time I'm not actually boondocking in this thing. And the only catch is that if you want to plug anything into the 110 volt outlets that are in the cabin, you have to have your inverter turned on. That's the only thing. You just got to remember to turn that on. Otherwise, it won't draw from the shore power. So other than that, the USB ports and all that stuff, they all draw from the battery. They won't draw from shore power. As far as I know, I'll have to go configure that. But it's the 110 that you're really worried about, right? Because if I'm going to be hooked up to electrical, I want to be able to plug my Zero Breeze in instead of using the batteries, and then I can run it all night and never have to worry about running out of batteries. So that's the only hiccup, is making sure your inverter is turned on. And otherwise, yeah, shore power works just fine. So this might have been a little bit of a longer video than we're used to. Hopefully you guys have hung in there, and I've answered all your questions. Like I said, all of these were answered in the comments throughout the series of videos. I just wanted to put one video together on the Q&A so that we had it all in one place as of right now. And again, if you're going to be in Lake Whitney next weekend, you want to stop by, awesome, let me know. I'll be down there for a couple days just to kind of chill out and hang out by the lake. Thanks for all the subscriptions. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all the support. A lot of people are happy that I'm doing these videos, because it's unlike anyone else, where, again, I'm being very transparent, very honest about what I'm experiencing with this thing. And if you have any other questions, put them in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you guys next weekend. Thanks.